Well, hello model car fans. Welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Rao, and this week I'm going to feature another one of my builds. This one's AMC Rebel Machine, the Machine, if you're familiar with it. It's kind of a one-year only car, but not really. It's kind of an interesting story. There's a lot going on with AMC, and they were trying different things at the time, but this is their entry into the mid-size market for 1970. They've kind of dabbled around with it, but quite an interesting car. It came, the first 1,000, depending on the specs you read or whatnot, but the first batch were all this color, white with all the stripes. At first, this is the only way you can get them. They came, you know, the red, white, and blue stripes here, white paint, blue on the sides, and blue hood, and all came with this ram air setup or air grabber setup. Not really sure what AMC actually called it, but it increased the horsepower though, because the AMX 390 engine that came standard in this car produced 340 horsepower for 1970, and it claimed the 15 horsepower was because of the forced air induction or the ram air setup on the hood, because the 390s and the AMXs in the previous years were 325 horse, but also in 1970 the AMX and the Javelin, when the air grabber hood was on those, it also increased them to 340 horsepower. So while the most powerful 390 engine that AMC had offered in literature and right off the showroom floor, this car was also standard with a 4-speed manual. Automatic was an option. And then sometime after January 1970, the paint scheme became a $75 option. It was standard at first. You didn't have a choice. After that, you could order 14 different colors, and then this whole hood section was blacked out. And then it was body color, but it didn't have the stripes, but the machine logos were still on the car. So this was the car that came out with in 1970. And like I said, this is a Johan kit here. Pretty desirable kit, but going back on the theme, the Rebel, the Machine, AMC was teasing concepts as far as even '68, and while I couldn't find any real pictures of the original concept car, it was a '68 Rebel Machine. I guess they were showing off in '69, and it was a flat black car that was lifted in the back, lowered in the front, had a real nice rake to it, and pretty sinister looking and sedate vehicle. And it also had some sort of logo with some gears meshing on the side. But all of that was changed to this vehicle that came out here. And I also understand Hearst had something to do with this, because Hearst was involved with AMC at the time. Hearst was kind of getting involved with everybody. But the SC Ramblers were done by Hearst in '69. And also the '69 AMX, the super stock race cars, those 52 cars were also prepped by Hearst. But so they had something to do with this particular car too. And it's quite an interesting car, and I always thought it was a very interesting car, and I really like the paint scheme. So when the opportunity came up and one of these kind of came my way, I jumped on and like, all right, I got to build this one. And it's a pretty desirable kit. It on a grail list for a lot of people. And this one, it's not really a restoration because I bought an unbuilt kit, but I'll call it a salvage kit. Matter of fact, I think I got some photos of what I bought, so I'll include them here and I'll post them up. But and I'd like to find another one of these someday and build another one in the sedate color, so I don't have to get these decals. And I'll do one with the black. But I would love to do another one. So if one comes my way at a decent price, I'll jump on it. Much like I did this one. What made it a desirable bargain for me was, when I say a salvage car, it's because what I bought was a mess, basically. A flood damage maybe. But something happened to it. I don't know. You know, somehow it got flooded. The box was just waterlogged and trashed and a little bit moldy. The decals were shot and the instructions were shot. But it was, for the most part, a mint unbuilt kit. So what I bought had unglued plastic. Nothing was damaged and nothing was modified. Even this chrome, I didn't send this chrome out. This chrome is Johan's chrome, and it's a little thin in spots, but I left it alone. I didn't send it out for replating. Usually I'll do that, but this one I built back in 2010 is when I completed it. So now it's a 10-year-old build, but I still love it. And I don't want to say it's box stock, because it is not. There were some things that I did change on it, and I'll get to those in a minute. And there are some things on this kit that aren't accurate at all, especially when you get to the bottom side. See, I don't believe the single exhaust is correct for this car. And then one of the most obvious, oh, there goes the air cleaner, is this torque tube setup and the suspension. But this is pretty much shared with the what's that car called? The Marlin, I believe. So a lot of this parts are shared with the Marlin. The steering is posable, so you can pose those wheels. And it's got some really nice disc brakes in there, which is pretty cool. You know, didn't really see that back then, especially from Johan. And a pretty nice motor. And I detailed it up, just dressed it up and worked with what I had, but I didn't really go to town on it. But what did bother me is I did change some things on the engine. So let me, if I can get the hood off. These are kind of a little well, the hood's up. So, and actually you can see it there. I did change out some of the parts. Here's the air grabber air cleaner. Now this kit, when you buy it, or when you get an original kit, it has the cross ram dual 4 barrels, and it's also got the center bolt valve covers, which neither one of those are correct for 70. They're pretty much the 66. The valve covers are 66 and older. The cross ram with the dual 4 barrels, that was not a stock. That was a Group 19 performance part, something on the race cars, but not on the stock cars. And I also added the cold air induction piece underneath the hood. That's just a piece of flat styrene that I shaped and cut and trimmed the hole on. So I added that to make it functional, and then the intake carb valve covers and this air cleaner assembly all came from another SC Rambler that I had for parts, because at one time those were pretty easy to find for parts, and kits were everywhere, so I was grabbing a lot of that stuff. So those items I changed out. I may have changed out a couple more pieces of the motor. I don't believe I did. I just remember changing those items out. And then the air cleaner. I didn't glue this. I just let it sit right in there. So let's put that back in place so you can see it in place. But I didn't really do anything else to it. I hand painted the red, white, and blue in the grill. And then the interior is black and pretty much all as kit issued. Like, except for the decals. These decals are Keith Marks decals. I've been using him for a number of years, so I kept using his, and I still prefer his decals. There's a few other people that are involved in decals now, but for the longest time it was pretty much him or Fred Cady, maybe one or two other guys, but most of the muscle car stuff was between those two. So I built this one up and finished it up. It was a nice salvage kit, as I'm going to call it. And I really like this hood scoop. And another neat thing on the hood scoop, if you didn't know this, has the tack in it. That's what this extra bulge is. So it has a hood tack in it, so kind of all built into it. And just a fun, neat kit. To me, the body is very accurate. It's a little low in the back, but I guess they all really were. And I love these machine wheels. Those are pretty cool wheels. And just the looks of this thing. I'd love to find a 69 and build one of those, but those are really rare. And but if I run into another 70, I'll build it. And then for my comment about the option package living on, 1970 was the last year for the Rebel. But the machine option, which there was 2,300 of them built, and most of them were the red, white, and blue paint scheme. Not a whole lot of the solid color ones, even though it became an option. But the machine option did last one more year on the brand new 1971 Matador. So there are very, very few machine package matadors out there, but they are out there, and I understand reading somewhere that roughly only 50 were built. So to get the machine option on a matador, which I don't know if there's a kit available to do that, and I'd like to build one of those as well. But and they were much more sedate, didn't have the stripes like this. They were main body color and then a blacked out hood like these became. So quite an interesting car, and quite a loud car for AMC, but it's it's a fun one, and I liked the crazy boldness that AMC was doing at the time with some of their vehicles. But this one, they were all standard with 390 engines, all the 340 horse high performance one. But so that'll do it for this episode, and I'll share some more of my build-ups and my projects. So stay tuned and see you next week. So thank you for subscribing and hitting that bell button, and thanks for your comments and everything. And I'm real curious what you guys would think of this one. And you guys, you have a wonderful day.